What can happen when we have the government cooperating with business.
I wasn't going to talk about this tonight, but might as well. I love telling people that I'm a Democrat. Anybody in here like me, you're a Democrat? Man, I love being a Democrat. You know why I love being a Democrat? Huh? Because I love following Jesus. Don't you just love following Jesus? I mean, don't you just love doing what Jesus says? People ask me all the time, what's the deal with your act? And what's up with all the Jesus stuff and Christianity? Or Christian stuff, in other words. And they'll ask me sometimes, are you making fun of Christians? And then other times they'll ask me, are you a Christian? Are you really a Christian? And then can you prove you're a Christian? And what is the source of the facts that you're using to prove that you're a Christian? And usually the ones that are asking that question are Christians. But the point of the message, there's the message. And then, of course, there's the messenger. And then there's the audience, or the reader. Or the Christians, in other words. If Christians are reading this, or if Christians are in the audience. And the point is, that is the point, is that anybody can act like Christ. if they have the ability to choose to act like Christ, then they can act like Christ. Anybody. An atheist. I use the term an atheist. Let me add the term even an atheist for Christians. Because a lot of Christians, in fact, I'll go on record as saying Christians in general. And when I say Christians in general, I'm not talking about all Christians, I just mean most Christians in general. In other words, Christians in general. In other words, most Christians, not all Christians, just most Christians in general. So I'm just talking about most Christians generally. In other words, most Christians. In other words, when you boil that all down, you're talking about Christians and you just round that up. You're talking about Christians. But not all, just most. And not most, just most in general. In other words, just Christians, generally speaking. And the message is, anybody can act like Christ. Even Christians, in other words.
Christians love, or at least Christians are experts at, shall we say, and they act like they love. Speaking of war, W-A-R, Christians act like they love, or it seems like that. Christians act like, it seems like that it's like that Christians act like, that it's their job to act like. Can I explain that again, please? Can we get another explanation of that? Christians act like it's their job. J-O-B, job. To advocate. A-D-V-O-C-A-T-E. Advocate for war. So can we get a definition on war, please? D-E-F-I-N-I-T-I-O-N. Definition of the war. Can we get that? W-A-R, war. And whatever that is, based on the definition of war, based on the society's definition. In other words, the definition provided by, assigned by society. In other words, the society's definition as society's definition. The societies. Because we're talking about the society. Speaking of Christian society, there's only one Christian society. But Christians love, or they act like they love, or it seems like, rather, at least, that it's their job to act like they love. Advocating war. Advocating for war. Being advocates for war. And war is killing people. As the current definition of war is from society. In other words, the society's definition of war is killing people. Killing other people on the other side of the border. Christians are really into borders. Christians are really into borders. Speaking of that, speaking of borders. But killing people on the other side of the border, or if you have a border, and then some people are coming from that side of the border over to this side of the border, then you'll possibly need to have a war to kill some of those people, or all of those people, or most of those people, or enough of those people at least to get whatever it is that you want either on the other side of the border or from those people or things on the other side of the border that are now on your side of the border. In other words, war is fought over borders. This side or that side. This side or that side. And if you're on that side, you're against this side. If you're on this side, you're against that side. And it is the job of everything in society that is on one side of the border or the other or an other, when they are at war with the other on the other side of this or that border, it is their job then, it is one of the rules then of society that you kill that person, or you kill those things, or you hate those things enough to kill them. In other words, those things become your enemies. In other words, war equals enemies killing enemies. In other words, the members of society killing each other based on what the makers of the rules of society tell them. In other words, if the makers of the rules of society, the designers, in other words, of society, tell the members of society, you are on this side of the border and they are on that side of the border. You are one thing and they are another thing. Go and kill that other thing. Let me explain that again. If you are on this side of the border and they are on the other side of the border, you are one thing and they are another thing. Now go and kill that other thing. That's the definition of war. And it's based on the definitions that society gives or assigns to everything in society. And that definition is the same definition. Based on borders. Based on the border. Based on your border. Based on whatever side of the border you are on. In other words, the definition of war is killing over borders. So the first time you see one of these bombs go off, there's a lot of reflection, introspection. People are trying to find a meaning in it. Once a meaning has been defined that is able to provide a level of interest and comfort for the consumption of the public, the consumer, then the product is no longer reflection. We're not being motivated to dialogue or discuss. It's more about making it part of our daily, normal framework of perception and the way we think, so that when these types of things happen all the time, we're not worried about finding meaning. We've established a meaning. Now we just simply live that meaning. Society defines everything in society as the same thing, as either one thing or an other thing, or in other words, as either this or that, or in other words, as either on this side of the border or on that side, the other side of the border. So that you are either one thing or you are either an other thing based on which side of the border you are on. In other words, society tells you which side of the border you're on, and then based on that, what you are. Everything is defined like that. It's all the same.
Okay, but now you guys know what society is, don't you? You guys know what society is? Society is a set of rules. Society is actually a set of rules, right? You're either this thing or you're that thing. You're either one thing or another. You're either this thing or you're not that thing, right? You're either an Angels fan or a Dodgers fan. Clippers or Lakers. Republican or Democrat, right? You're for drone strikes or food stamps, right? So if you're for drone strikes, usually that means you're for killing people. If you're for food stamps, usually that means you're for feeding people, generally speaking. We need to talk a little bit more about human social media and what it is. Of course, you know what the human centipede is. Human centipede, written by filmmaker Tom Six. And as you know, of course, the human centipede is the reality and the fact of that the movies are real. You watch the human centipede and you'll know that the movies are real. So, we need to talk a little bit more about the human and social media, which is, of course, based on the human centipede. Because without the human centipede, there wouldn't be any such thing as the human social media. But most of the time, people are on the human social media. It's usually something that they're doing when they're looking at themselves, thinking about themselves, or talking to themselves. And also it's called Twitter, or the internet, or the Christian internet. Because basically Twitter is the Christian internet. In other words, Christians are the human social media. But the human social media is not just one thing. It's many things. Because the internet is not just one thing. Christian internet is many things, many Christians. That's why it really is spelled Christians is capital C, and then lowercase h, and then lowercase r, and then lowercase I, and then lowercase s, and then lowercase t, and then lowercase I, and then lowercase a, and then lowercase e. And then you can add an s at the end of that, because there's lots of us. We're all over the world. Wide Web, a.k.a. the internet. A.k.a. the internet, a.k.a. the human social media feed, a.k.a. Christians. So there is such a thing as Christians, and then there is such a thing as good Christians, and then there is such a thing as better Christians, and then there is such a thing as best Christians. And the best Christians are the ones that dominate the World Wide Web, dominate the internet, dominate the Christian internet, in other words, the social networking sites that we call the internet, but they're actually the human social media feed, in other words, the human Christ media privileged politicians and their part in possibly global warming.
There's no country on earth that can be expected to live under a daily barrage of rockets.
What's the difference between removing a person's head at their shoulders and removing a person's body at the shoulders? What's the difference? What's the difference?
These are just questions, actually. These are just questions
Designed to
motivate people
to think about what it is that is the difference between one thing and another thing.
And this is being discussed on the news. This is the topic of the news.
And that is why do some religions not only tolerate but encourage
Their followers, or the followers of that religion,
to remove, as they say, the heads of their political enemies at the shoulders. In other words, you separate the head from the shoulders, or the head from the body from the shoulders up. Whereas for members of a different religion, or in other words, for Christians, The method for killing is to separate the body from the head, from the shoulders down, or from every part, from 20 pounds to defeat in the sky. And the other one's performed at ground level, so what's the difference? I guess mainly that one is at ground level and one is from 20,000 feet in the sky. Also, one is Christian and one is not Christian. A real follower of Jesus will want to, or will at least act like he wants to, or she wants to, or she or and he wants to follow Obama. And not only because Obama's the Lord's anointed. In other words, Jesus. Unless you want to argue with the Bible, unless you want to argue with the Christian Bible, that is, Christian Bible. The Bible is a book of rules. The Christian Bible is a book of rules for Christians to not only follow, but to use to measure the way other people act, so that they can say that they now know how other people think, based on how those other people act, based on their book of rules. In other words, the Christian Bible, the New Testament. And the New Testament, as we've already pointed out, is the Christian Bible. And it is a set of rules for Christians. It's a book of rules. And Christians are experts at rules, at interpreting rules, and at the application of rules, and to when, and in other words, regarding when rules, certain rules, should be applied, and to whom, and which people should follow certain rules, and when they should follow them, and for how long, and whether or not they can pay other people to follow those rules for them. But one of the rules, in other words, of the New Testament, which is a book of rules for Christians, the New Testament is a Christian book, is, in other words, the Christian Bible, that Obama is the Lord's anointed. Unless you want to argue with the Bible, again. But as a follower of Jesus, then, would be following Obama, then a Christian could follow Obama, which would make then that Christian a follower of Jesus. But that would mean that they would have to follow Black Lives Matter. They would have to get behind that. And that's really a stretch of the imagination for a lot of people to make believe that Christians, in general, not all, but just most in general. Not most, just most in general. So in other words, just Christians in general would probably not want to get behind Black Lives Matter. And that's just based on the behavior of Christians. As a Christian, and I'm talking to you as a Christian, one of my jobs is to be opposed to and to make jokes about and to make light of Black Lives Matter. Actually, as a Christian, it's my job to be against anything that matters if it's not Christian. It doesn't really matter if it's black or not. It's just that in general, Christians in general are going to be against Black Lives Matter. And that's not all. That's not to generally lump together all Christians. That's to generalize all Christians. That's just saying Christians in general. Not all, just most. And not almost, just most in general. Which is basically Christians when you round that up. Or you can round it down. Round it up or round it down. Doesn't matter. Boil it down or round it up. It's just basically Christians. And they'll usually have a problem with, which they'll show you their behavior. And you can see this behavior on the Christian internet. And the Christian internet is that Christian thing that shows you what the definition of a Christian is. And that's usually going to be the opposite of following Obama. In other words,
the border defines the border defines the border.
Now, you have to realize that when you're in society and you're not following the rules, that everybody's got a job to do, right? Now, if you follow the rules, you're fine. But if you don't follow the rules, then society's got another job for you. And that means you either go away or your job is to then say, don't tase me, bro. Right? Your job in society, if you don't follow the rules, is to say, don't tase me, bro. Right? You remember don't tase me, bro, don't you?
Everywhere Jesus went, he was selling, S-E-L-L-I-N-G, selling his book. And that was the primary purpose as part of the daily acting, A-C-T-I-N-G, acting of Jesus Christ. And, speaking of which, have you ever noticed how Jesus, the New Testament tells us that Mexicans are the master race? Otherwise, why would, of course, Christ have picked the name Jesus as his first name? As a side note, speaking of names, speaking of daily functions, activities, acting. But the primary function of a Christian, in other words, anything, and remember a person is a thing, including people, including a person, that is of, from, or belonging to Christ. And that means selling your book. And it's not about controlling people. It's about selling your book. Okay, so what book is that? That's the book of Jesus. So, in the name of Jesus, you go out and you sell this book. And that's how you're going to be like Jesus, is to go out and sell your book. What book is that, though? However, as you say, your book, what book are you talking about? It's the book of Jesus. In other words, the Bible, aka the New Testament. And so, that's the book that it's the job of the Christian, or of Christians, to sell. Nobody knows exactly how many of these books Christians are actually selling, or attempting to sell, or are concerned about selling, or with selling, S-E-L-L-I-N-G, selling. But we do know that it is the job of a Christian to sell their book, and that book is the book of Jesus Christ, aka the leader of the Mexicans. So it is the job of Christians, actually, indeed, to act like they're Mexicans. To act like they're Mexican. Most of the people that you encounter are not going to be thinking about Mexicans when they think about Jesus. They're going to be thinking about the person doing their lawn. Or the person they buy the fruit bowl from. Or the plastic container from. Or the bag of oranges or pillows or whatever it is that they're buying. But that doesn't mean that that's not what it is. The book of Jesus is the book of Mexicans. And it's the job of Christians primarily to sell the book of Mexicans. To sell the book of Mexicans made up of Mexicans for, by, from, and belonging to Mexicans. In other words, the Bible, aka the New Testament. Did you know that the New Testament, now speaking of books, speaking of the book of Jesus, the book of Jesus, in other words, the book of the Mexicans, or the book of the Mexican, because there's only one Jesus, Jesus Christ, and that makes Jesus the Mexican, because there's only one of Jesus Christ. That makes Jesus Christ the Mexican, in other words, or Mexicans. In other words, it is the job. Let me explain that again. In other words, it is the job of Christians, if they're really Christians, to sell the book of Jesus. In other words, it is the job of Christians to act like Mexicans. In other words, it is the job of Christians to be Mexican. In other words, Christians are Mexicans. And if you're a Mexican, you're a Christian. And Jesus is the Mexican, and Christ Jesus is Jesus. And therefore, the New Testament is the book of the Mexican. But that's the job of a Christian, is to sell the book of Jesus, the book of Jesus. In other words, the New Testament. But that's all Jesus did, was go around selling his book. And it wasn't about controlling people. Jesus didn't try to, and Jesus didn't control people. And that is not how you sell a book, your book, this book. You sell this book by making that book the same. Putting that book always in front of the same place, continually. In front of the eyes, the ears, the nose, the sense, all of them, of any person that hasn't yet purchased the book. Then you have to sell that book to that person, or to those people, or to those persons, or to those Christians. Yeah, because you can sell the book of Jesus to Mexicans. Christians are Mexicans, if they're really Christians. But that was the job of Jesus, was to sell his book. And he came to sell his book, and he did sell his book, and he's still selling his book. If you're a Christian, man, then you're part of the sales team. And it is your job then to sell the Bible, aka the New Testament, aka the book of the Mexicans, or the Mexican. Jesus, in other words, is the Mexican. In other words, Mexicans. But these are all foundational principles, truths, if you will, material that is foundational to the rest of the book. So who's going to buy the book? I can't hear anything I'm saying. Can you hear me? Am I coming out of there okay? I can't hear anything I'm saying. Okay, the topic today is... Yeah, I know what the topic is, but I can't hear myself. I can't hear anything I'm saying. All I can hear is the background. Is that the background we're going to use? Can you lower it down in this side? It's a little loud on this side over here. That's a lot better, thank you.
Gotta get a drink of water. Okay, so the topic today. Now, I find in the news, can I get spelling on the news? Capital T, H-E, and then a space, and then capital N, and then lowercase e, and then lowercase. Is that a W? What comes after that? S. Sure. I can't. Now I can hear you, but I can't hear myself. Can I? Is this in the way? It's in my way. Can I move this? Great, thanks. Is this on? Well, I know this is on. I can see the light on. I can't hear anything coming out of this side. I can hear myself on that side, but not on this side. So what I see on the news, you're going to work on that? Thank you. How much time do we have? How much time do we have before we have to do the real one? Okay. Take 4. Let's take 4. Take 2. Take 2. On the news. Now this is a story. Is this an article about the Bible or religious texts in general? Hey, can I get a spelling on the word text? T-E-X-T-S. Text. Can somebody give me the correct pronunciation on the word text? Is it text? Or text? Or text? Can I just say T-E-X-T-S? Text. 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 Are we talking about all of those in general? Or just the Bible? Religious texts in general? Or the Bible? I'm not in favor of following any religious book that advocates or instructs the followers of that book to be killers or harmers, capital H-A-R-M-E-R-S, harmers of any human life in any way, like is described in several religious texts, including the Bible. Are we including the Bible or only talking about the Bible? You want me to do that again? Keep going? Okay. Can I have that one back? So that's why I don't use the Bible. I don't use it. I use the parts of any book, including the Bible, that I can agree with most
and then I act like those things are true or real, and then they are, and then I can't hear this one just came up and that one went down. Yeah, I can see in the meter it's on, but I can't hear it. Okay. Well, can you work on that? Thank you. Okay, let's see. Where were we? Only the parts of the book that are agreeable with the way I think. And now that's the reason why, as a Christian, now I follow the Bible as a Christian. True. As a Christian, I follow the Bible. Because that's the number one job of a Christian, is to follow the Bible, and to impose the Bible on other people, to enforce it, and to be enforcers of the Bible. Compliance with the Bible. With the Bible. Bible! Capital B-I-B-L-E. Bible. The Bible. The Bible! Just so we know which book we're talking about. As a Christian, I'm an enforcer of that. And then, of course, anybody that doesn't agree with me, then, well, they can go to hell. And so, as a Christian, I do follow the Bible, all of it, in my mind. Yeah. In my imagination, I follow the Bible. As a Christian. And then, as a Christian, I also have to make sure that I see how everybody else follows the Bible, so I can make sure that they're like me, according to my imagination. Can I hear myself a little louder on this side, please? It's starting to, this one now moving in and out. So, now, as a Christian, that's another reason why. Are you going to work? Okay, now this one just went out. Okay, let me get another drink here. Okay. So that's why, you want me to just pick up right where I left off? Okay. Can I have that one back? Thank you. Okay, you can keep that and those. But now, speaking of my jobs as a Christian, because one of them is to, of course, be an enforcer of the Bible, also an imposer of the Bible on others, but also to not worry about killing anybody except from 20,000 feet in the sky, also to be against abortion, but before, that is B-F-O-R, be on the side of state-approved late-term abortion from 20,000 feet in the sky. Also later-term abortion from the same height in the sky. And then also, for when Jesus comes back, and he kills everybody that's not like me. Other than that, I reject any holy book or religious texts that advocates violence against any person, unless it's violence in a manner that agrees with me as a Christian. Christiana! Am I coming out of there okay? I can't hear anything I'm saying. Speaking of destabilization of the Middle East, in other words, when one president is elected and does one thing, then that destabilizes the Middle East. And then when another president comes along and is elected following that president then is said to have destabilized the Middle East. Now, if you voted for the first president that is said to have destabilized the Middle East, who had an opportunity to stabilize the Middle East, but destabilized the Middle East, then, of course, you're not one of the ones that will say, or that did say, that the president, the one you voted for, has destabilized the Middle East. While on the other hand, in other words, at the same time, or also, if you voted for the president that's not that first president, but the other president, the one that comes along after the first president, but has this said about him by some people, not the ones that voted for him, that they have destabilized the Middle East. In other words, they had an opportunity to stabilize the Middle East, but they destabilized it. And you are one of the ones that voted for that particular president, then chances are you will not be saved. This destabilization is a result of this president. And the reason for that is because the society that we live in is a set of rules. In other words, a society is a set of rules. A society is a set of rules. And one of the rules of society is, let me say that again. One of the rules of a society is that if you vote for a president, and that president has an opportunity, in your opinion, if you vote for the president, and you feel that that president had or has an opportunity to stabilize the Middle East, then whatever that president does is going to be for the stabilization of the Middle East and not in order to destabilize the Middle East. In other words, you cheer for your team. Yay, team! Go my team, in other words. And that's one of the rules of society, is that your president is a stabilizer of the Middle East, and a president that is not your president stabilizer of the Middle East. In other words, yay, my team.
And I have a very pro-life agenda. You can hashtag that at PRO and then no space between the O and this letter. And you can capitalize this letter or you can lowercase it, whatever you want. Let's go ahead and capitalize it. And so it's like this. After those first three letters, which the last one is, the letter O, lowercase, if you prefer. And then this one, upper or lowercase, L, followed by a lowercase I, a lowercase f, and then a lowercase e. And then all of that is preceded by immediately, with no space in between that thing and this thing, a hashtag mark, or what we used to call on the telephone, pound sign, or the pound key. It's two lines running across, parallel to each other one way, vertically, and then two other lines running, intersecting with those lines horizontally, and they're running parallel to each other. Intersection at that, the vertex is 90 degrees at all angles. And that's how you can hashtag pro-life. So it's hashtag pro-life or on the side of life. So that's an agenda I have. My main agenda is to be pro-life, so I always try to be right up front with that. So if you're into that kind of stuff, that kind of humor, then you're going to be into that. And if you're not, then you probably won't like it all that much. And so I'm into things like food stamps, welfare, democrating other people. Some people that aren't Democrats need to be democratic. And that's my job, is to democrat you. So I'm into democrating as a Christian. Now, it depends on how you define the word Christian or the thing Christian that the word is, because a word is a thing and therefore Christian is a thing. And so it depends on how you define it. But from one point of view, you can say a Christian is a person that is of Christ, or a thing that is of, from, or that belongs to Christ. In that case, then of course, if you're a Christian, you're going to be a Democrat. And because you're going to want to act like Jesus. And then on the other hand, if your definition of Christian is, according to the Christian internet, that the definition of Christian is anti-Christ, or just the opposite of that other one, then maybe you're not going to want to be a Democrat. And that's why it's my job as a Democrat to democrat you out. And that's why I spend so much of my time democrating other people. Also, what's up with people that are against food stamps, but they're for war stamps? AKA, these people are also called Christians, according to the Christian internet. So now, as I said, I have a pro-life agenda, and that means I'm going to be pushing food stamps on people. Always going to try to be getting as many people as I can to be on welfare, and also to think like me and to act like me. That's my main job as a Democrat, is to get other people to think like me and to act like me. And also to win elections. That's another one of my jobs as a Democrat. One of my main jobs, in fact, I would say actually my main job as a Democrat is to win elections. So that I can impose what I I think is best on other people, and then Democrat it. Also, which is what I do as a Christian, depending on what you think a Christian is. So that I can impose what I think is best on other people. So that I can impose what I think is best on other people. So that I can impose what I think is best on other people. So that I can impose what I think is best on other people.
Hey, now listen. You know what my job as a Democrat is, don't you? You know what a Democrat's job is, don't you? No. Pass the bill so you can see what's in it. Don't you want to see what's in it? Don't you want to see what's in it? No. Well, you can't see what's in it unless you pass it. That's my job as a Democrat, to pass the bill to see what's in it.
The rules of society are defined by the act of the rules of society. Society is the rules of society. Society is, society equals the behavior of the members of society. The behavior of the members of society is the rules of society. In other words, or to put it another way, or in other words, therefore, society is the behavior of the members of society. In other words, the members of society are the rules of society. That behavior, in that it represents the rules of society, more than represents, is based on, in other words, is the rules of society. When you base something on another thing, that thing that you are basing, or that you are building on that other thing, is the thing that you are basing that thing on.